announced the launch of the automated biometric identification system. This is a new system that's meant to address several traditional complaints against the department, from waiting times at offices, identity theft, fraud, corruption, bribery and other crimes. The department also faces a number of other challenges, including an order by the public protector to review the 10-year period to apply for naturalization, as well as LGBTI activist organizations have now raised the issue of gender classification, saying this needs to be reconsidered. Well, to discuss these matters, we're now joined in studio by the Director of the Department of Home Affairs, Mr. Mkhuseli Apleni. Good evening to you, and thank you for talking to us this evening. I suppose the first thing I want to ask you is, what does this, are you calling it ABIS?
Yes.
Is that how you're calling it?
Yeah.
ABIS. What does ABIS offer citizens, and how is it different from the previous system?
No, good evening to you and as well as to the viewers. Firstly, what is uniquely identifying one person from the other is what we call biometrics. But what we're understanding in the past was that it is only the fingerprint which now differentiate one person to the other. But as the technology is improving, now we understand now that the iris, which is in your eye, is also different from any other person. And as you know, that the DNA now is also another thing which separates one person to the other. So now the system which we had was only taking the fingerprints. And then a photo, we were able to take the photo, but we didn't have an ability of what we called a facial recognition. So it's another way of verifying one person to the other. So now the system now which we are introducing will have a capability of dealing with other parts of the biometric. What that will help the society, as you ask, what will be the benefit? When police goes to a crime scene, what they are looking for is the biometrics. But now if your system only take a fingerprint, as we're doing now, only based on the front part but not roll, it won't help the police. Two, if not they take a camera, there was a camera where the crime happened, but now they can't take that photo and come now to the system of Home Affairs and say, man, this photo belongs to this person, therefore they're able to go quickly and arrest a person. So that's how now this system is going to help. But if you take now on the economic side, people will tell you how theft is going through the ID system. That's why now we have started already with the banks, not all of them, where we do what we call the finger verification. Because now a smart card has got now an advantage that in it is carrying that biometric. So now it's going to help us to resolve a lot of issues, which is identity theft. It will help us to deal with issues of crime. Then it will interact with the law enforcement agencies like police and everybody else. So that's what it will bring to this country, which will be better.
Now, I understand, of course, it's been developed with other partners. I'm thinking here of the CSIR, I'm thinking of State Information and Technology Systems. This is a homegrown solution that you've put together?
Yes, what we have done, CSIR, as you know, is an entity which is under the Department of Science and Technology. Then we said, as a Home Affairs, I'm not an expert in drawing the specifications. Why don't we go to CSIR to help us to draw up proper specifications so that we can be able to get everything. That's why now they assisted us with. Then CETA is through the procurement process. So we have appointed now a company in South Africa, which is EOH, who is developing now this system. Yes, there will be a base because for these fingerprints, we've got a particular base which you need to have, which is a morpho. So they are doing that. So now at the end, it will be something which now we can be able to manage and control it because it is internal.
What about the issue of passports? I know that there was some concern raised by other countries, for example, about the security and, you know, I don't know if the word is safety of our passport, yes, but at least the authenticity of it, the idea that they could easily be duplicated, but particularly people with links to organized international syndicates.
Yes. Exactly, that system is going to assist us with. Remember now, our smart card has got what we call the chip. Because in the chip is where now it is keeping those fingerprints and the photo. So now the passport, which now will develop, once the system now is ready, it will also have that. So that now when you go through the airport, we will put now your finger to say this passport which you are carrying you are the rightful owner of it. And then I will talk about what we get in other countries, which is the e-gate, where that now when you've got that passport, you don't need to go in front now of the immigration officer, because your biometric is what is distrusted. So now once we have that, it's going to make sure that now our passports are secured, because having a person who looks at the face by naked eye doesn't help, but it's the biometric which will help us to improve the security.
I suppose you could say that in the modern age, certainly in the digital age, the idea of integration within government is something that's key. Has this been part of helping you move Home Affairs away from governance and administration in terms of a cluster into your current arrangement?
Yes, maybe people will also recall that the MEC for education in Gauteng, he said last year there had a lot of glitches in that appointment system for registration of kids. But once he worked with Home Affairs, he was able now the system to be improved, because now the parent just go there and punch an ID number. Once it punches the ID number, all other details of the kids and everything are already in the system. So now these systems are going to help us to integrate, because we want at the end of the day to have a single view of a citizen or even a foreign national. That's why now we said this ABIS is a foundation for us now to go into the national identity system.
I mean, we've looked at visuals as we've been talking. We've been showing visuals of queues outside Home Affairs. How are all of these systems going to assist with those administrative hassles that many citizens face when they go to your department?
Yes. You'll know that Home Affairs in the past were dealing with things manually. Yes, the queues will look like that. They were not there. But what was the problem is that now for an ID document was taking 6 months. Because it's on a paper. Yes, you don't queue at Home Affairs, but now you were queuing when you are sitting at home waiting for the product. But once we automate, once you get in our office, yes, you queue to get inside, but immediately your service has been done, you get it immediately. So what is the problem which we are trying to resolve now? We have identified, as Minister said, we have come up with a strategy on war on queues, was that the biggest issue which we have is the networks. So we're working now to make sure that we have appointed now Dimension Data through SITA to make sure that we work on our networks, and then we'll improve the systems.
Right. Very quickly then, those are all the issues, I suppose, on the positive column. On maybe a slightly negative one, the Public Protector has ordered you to look at the process of naturalization. And of course, the strong criticism is going to always be the process that the Gupta family and some of their associates underwent to get that process finalized. Where are we on that?
Yes, yeah. No, what was the issue of the Public Protector is that we're talking about a 10-year period. Then what was the calculation of that to say, when you come to South Africa first, you get what we call a temporal residence permit. So you must finish 5 years with that permit. Once now you finish the 5 years, then you get into a permanent residence, which must also be a 5 years. Then after that, you've got 10 years. It's then that now you can apply for naturalization. So what happened now when we changed the regulation in 2014? People calculated the first 5 years, which is a temporal residence, and then now another 10 years, which makes now 15 years. Then it says, no, that is not what is in the Act. It should only be 5 years temporal and 5 years permanent, and then you get naturalized.
And where are we on gender classification? LGBTI groups saying that male and female is not enough to cover the full spectrum of identities?
Yes. Well, it's something which we are looking at, because remember, these are the new things. We've got the Acts, and then we changed this, we changed that. For instance, on the marriage, we were having, our Act was only saying that if now you are the same-sex couple, you only get married through the civil union. But if it's the other one is in the Marriage Act, then now the challenge which we had, there was people who were male and female and got married, and then after that the other one now changed the sex, and both of them now were females. Now the question is, are they under Civil Act or they're under Marriage Act? And then we're saying, no, you need to divorce, and then now you go and marry under the civil. They says, no, our relationship has not broken. Why would we divorce? So then based on that, now we need to change this act as we are understanding this permutation which are happening. That's why now the LGBTI group even met with the minister to say, why don't we sit together, we meet and get all these new things which we must do, and we understand and we change as we are going, because now the laws might be not having this understanding, but what we cannot do is to be rigid on the law. We must change the law to accommodate what we have as a society.
Right, we'll have to leave our discussion there with Mkhuseli Apleni, the Director General of the Department of Home Affairs. Stay with us. You're watching The Full View.